Outside the window, the two suns dipped below the horizon. The aurora's edge lifted from the ground, engines roaring to life. The stars above stretched into lines of light as the ship jumped into hyperspace. Lyra sat quietly in the co-pilot seat, watching the endless stars blur by. For the first time in her life, she didn't know what waited ahead. But for the first time, she wasn't afraid. She wasn't a tool anymore. She was something else, something new. Jacob leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on the glowing coordinates. He had only wanted a few spare parts. Instead, he had bought a cow, freed a woman, and stumbled into something much larger than himself. Neither of them knew it yet, but their meeting would change the balance of power in the galaxy, and prove, once again, that humans had a way of turning simple acts of kindness into legends. The aurora's edge glided through hyperspace, leaving the familiar twin suns of Vrex 9 behind. Jacob leaned back in his chair, watching the stars blur into long streaks of light. The cow settled in the cargo bay, calm for now, while Lyra remained in the co-pilot seat, her hands hovering over the controls without touching them. She seemed almost hesitant, as if afraid that any sudden move might break the connection between her and the ship. "Do you know where those coordinates lead?" Jacob asked, breaking the silence. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the moving star map. "Not exactly," she said. "I remember fragments. Old security protocols locked data. My creators hid something important. A tool or a weapon? Maybe both. They didn't want anyone to find it for centuries." Jacob frowned. "Centuries? And you just remembered now?" "It wasn't forgotten," Lyra said softly. "It was sealed. I wasn't supposed to access it. But when you freed me, it triggered a response. My neural link. It reached out to the nearest vessel capable of carrying me to the coordinates." "Your ship answered?" Jacob blinked. "So I'm basically a delivery service for some ancient weapon?" Lyra's eyes twitched. "It is more than a weapon. It is a technology, unlike anything in current galactic records. My creators used it to survive and expand across star systems. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could shift the balance of power." Jacob exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. "Great. So we're carrying a ticking mystery box across unknown space. Why am I not surprised?" Lyra tilted her head, trying to understand human expressions. "Because humans are unpredictable. You act without thinking sometimes, yet you solve problems others cannot. I have noticed this in my interactions with other species." "You're remarkable," Jacob chuckled softly. "Flattery from a robot? That's a new one." "Not a robot," Lyra corrected. "A humanoid, I think. My definition of self is evolving." Jacob shook his head, smiling faintly. "Well, evolution or not, you better stay alive if you want to keep talking. We'll need to reach those coordinates first." The ship shook slightly as hyperspace turbulence rocked it. The cow moaned softly, but Jacob ignored it, focusing on the navigation console. The path led them through an uncharted region of space, far from major trade routes. Jacob noticed strange energy fluctuations on the sensors, small pulses that resembled a heartbeat moving through space. "What are those readings?" he asked. Lyra leaned forward. "They are remnants. My creators left traces in this sector to protect the technology, sensors, traps, and data locks. They expected someone to arrive eventually, but only someone they deemed worthy could reach the final point." Jacob raised an eyebrow. "And they considered me worthy because I bought a cow and freed you?" "You were the catalyst," Lyra said. "No one else would have acted. Most species would have ignored the sale, assumed it was entertainment or trivial, but you intervened. That mattered." Jacob shook his head in disbelief. "Humans, always the wild cards." Hours passed in tense silence. The stars gradually returned to normal as the ship exited hyperspace. Before them floated a massive asteroid field, thousands of jagged rocks circling a dim, dying star. The map on the console highlighted a single asteroid with a glowing marker, a point of interest hidden among the rubble. Jacob steered the ship carefully through the maze of debris. Lyra guided him, her neural connection subtly manipulating the ship's thrusters to avoid collisions. It was unnerving to watch, but precise. The cow bleated softly from the back as if sensing the tension. Finally, they reached the asteroid. Jacob pressed the docking clamps against a flat surface. The ship shuddered slightly, and then the clamps held firm. Outside, massive stone formations stretched in every direction, creating tunnels, caverns, and impossible arches. It was almost like a hidden city, carved deep into the asteroid, though empty now. "Welcome to the coordinates," Lyra said softly. "This was a research outpost. My creators used it to hide their technology and records. They left safeguards. You may be the first outsider to enter in thousands of years." Jacob grabbed a portable flashlight and a small energy pistol. "First, then we better be careful." "What kind of defenses?" Lyra's eyes glowed faintly as she scanned the asteroid. "Security drones, energy barriers, and automated traps. Most are deactivated due to time, but some are active. My connection can guide us through the safest path." Jacob nodded. "All right, let's see what we're dealing with." They exited the ship and stepped onto the rocky surface. The asteroid's gravity was weak, making each step feel like floating. Jacob could see ancient structures carved into the rock. Tall, slender towers with strange glyphs glowing faintly along their edges. The symbols pulsed gently, reacting to Lyra's presence. "This way," Lyra said, moving with surprising grace. Her steps were precise, almost mechanical, but fluid at the same time. "The entrance is a few hundred meters ahead. Be careful. Pressure traps may still be active." Jacob followed, ducking under jagged stone arches. The cow trailed behind, surprisingly steady despite the low gravity. Occasionally, the cow's hooves slipped on the smooth stone, making Jacob chuckle quietly. Lyra glanced back but didn't comment. The entrance was a massive doorway carved directly into the asteroid. It was covered in more glowing glyphs. Lyra extended her hands toward the symbols. "These locks will open only with my neural signature. Stand back." The glyphs pulsed faster, lights running along their edges like liquid energy. Slowly, the stone shifted, sliding aside to reveal a dark chamber inside. The air smelled old, metallic, and faintly of ozone. Jacob stepped in first, shining the flashlight around. "Wow, this place hasn't been touched in centuries," he said. Or maybe longer. The chamber was huge, easily the size of a small stadium. In the center floated a sphere of metal and crystal, surrounded by glowing data conduits. The sphere pulsed softly as if alive. Jacob's jaw dropped. "That's it?" he asked, awed. "That is the heart of the system," Lyra said. "The core device. My creators designed it to store knowledge, technology, and defense systems for an entire civilization. It is the most advanced construct ever created in this sector. If activated incorrectly, it could destroy planets. If activated wisely, it could elevate entire species." Jacob stared. "And no one has touched it. Until now." Lyra stepped closer to the sphere, her hands reaching toward the floating conduits. "I can interface directly. I can access the core safely. But it will require trust. You must let me guide you, and we cannot deviate from the path." Jacob hesitated. He had freed her, yes, but trusting her with such power was frightening. "All right," he said finally. "I trust you." The moment he spoke, the sphere pulsed brighter, beams of light spreading across the chamber. Lyra's eyes glowed intensely, and her neural link with the ship hummed in response. Screens appeared in the air, displaying alien schematics, star maps, and records of civilizations long gone. Jacob felt a wave of wonder. He realized the scale of what they had found. Knowledge of star travel, energy manipulation, weapon systems, even records of other species' histories that were lost forever. Suddenly, alarms blared in the asteroid. Red lights flashed along the walls. A low, mechanical growl echoed through the chamber. Jacob drew his pistol. "What now?" "Defense protocols," Lyra said quickly. "They are active again. Automated drones approaching. Stay close to me." From the shadows, small flying machines appeared, armed with energy weapons. They moved fast, circling the chamber. Jacob fired, taking out the first drone. The cow mooed nervously, stepping back. Lyra extended her hands, and energy shields flared around them. The drones collided with the shields and disintegrated in bursts of sparks and smoke. "Keep moving," Lyra shouted. "We must reach the core interface." Jacob followed, dodging energy blasts, ducking under falling debris, and firing at anything that moved. Lyra's shields protected them both, pulsing with light as she focused on the core. Each pulse seemed to synchronize with her neural link, growing stronger with every step. Finally, they reached the interface. Lyra touched the sphere with both hands. Lights enveloped her. Her body floated slightly off the ground as energy flowed from the core into her. Jacob felt the air vibrate around him. The sphere's hum became a song, deep and resonant, almost alive. "Core accessed," Lyra said, her voice steady but filled with awe. "Now we can retrieve the record safely. No traps, no risks. But this knowledge, it can change everything. Are you ready?" Jacob looked at her, then at the sphere. He nodded. We're ready. As Lyra began transferring the core's information into the ship's systems, Jacob realized that freeing her had not just saved a life. It had unlocked the future. The galaxy would never be the same again. And for the first time, he understood the truth of humans in the galaxy. No matter the odds, they always found a way to matter. The core's light slowly faded and the great chamber fell quiet. The drones lay broken on the floor, their metal shells still glowing from the heat of battle. Dust floated lazily through the air. Jacob lowered his weapon, breathing heavily. His ears rang from the noise of the fight, and his heart still pounded from the rush of adrenaline. Lyra stood in front of the core, still connected by thin strands of glowing energy. Her eyes were brighter than before, and soft blue lines ran across her skin like veins of light. She looked stronger, calmer, more alive. When the light finally dimmed, she turned toward Jacob and smiled faintly. It's done, she said quietly. The core has accepted me as its guardian. The knowledge is safe now. Jacob wiped sweat from his forehead. Safe? That's good. But what exactly did we just do? I feel like we just turned on the most dangerous light switch in the galaxy. Lyra stepped closer, her expression serious. The core contained data, energy patterns, and blueprints for technologies far beyond modern understanding. My creators called it the Seed of Continuance. It can rebuild worlds, repair dying stars, and restore lost ecosystems. But it can also destroy, if used by those who crave control. Jacob frowned. So, a god machine, in a way, Lyra said softly. And now others will know it has awakened. The activation signal cannot be hidden. Someone somewhere is already listening. Jacob sighed. I was afraid you'd say that. A distant rumble echoed through the asteroid. The walls trembled slightly, scattering small bits of rock. Lyra turned toward the entrance. Ships are approaching, she said. Unidentified, but their energy signatures suggest the Vrexian Guild. The same idiots who sold you? Jacob said, his voice sharp. Yes, Lyra replied. They monitor old coordinates like these. They will come to claim what they believe is valuable. They will not stop. Jacob holstered his weapon and nodded. Then we leave. Now. They hurried back through the tunnels toward the docking site. The cow followed them faithfully, stepping awkwardly in the low gravity but somehow managing to keep up. The moment they reached the airlock, Jacob hit the controls and the Aurora's edge sealed itself. The engines roared to life, shaking off the dust of the asteroid. As the ship lifted, Lyra sat in the co-pilot seat and scanned the incoming readings. 3 ships incoming. Medium-class haulers armed with plasma turrets. They have already locked onto our location. Of course they have, Jacob muttered. Always 3, never 1. He tightened his grip on the flight controls and steered the ship away from the asteroid field. The engines flared bright, pushing the ship to its limits. Blaster fire streaked past the cockpit, lighting the darkness in flashes of red. Jacob dodged between the floating rocks, using them as shields. Each maneuver shook the ship and made the cow groan from the cargo bay. Shields at 60%, Lyra reported calmly. Her hands hovered above the console, sending streams of data directly into the ship's systems. I can redirect power from the auxiliary engines to reinforce them. Do it, Jacob said. And see if you can boost our speed. We need to jump out of here. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. Working. Energy surged through the ship. The lights flickered and the engines howled with new strength. They shot past a cluster of asteroids, spinning dangerously close to one of the Vrexian haulers. Jacob grinned despite the danger. Not bad. You sure you're not half pilot? I am learning, Lyra said, a small smile touching her lips. You humans call it instinct. The 3 enemy ships kept firing, but one of them struck an asteroid and exploded in a burst of fire and debris. The shockwave threw the Aurora's edge off course for a moment, but Jacob quickly corrected. 2 down, he said. Well, 1 down. 2 to go. Lyra's expression turned serious. We cannot outrun them for long. They have better tracking systems. But we can hide. Hide? Where? Lyra pointed to the map. There's a nebula ahead. Thick ion clouds. If we enter it, they will lose sensor lock. But it's unstable. Electrical storms could damage the ship, Jacob smirked. Perfect. Dangerous for everyone. My favorite kind of plan. The ship dived toward the nebula, glowing blue and gold like a living storm. Lightning danced between clouds of gas, painting the void with color. As soon as they entered, static filled the communication systems and sensors went dark. The Rexian ships followed but soon disappeared in the swirling mist. Explosions echoed faintly, then silence. Jacob exhaled. "We lost them." Lyra's voice was cautious. For now. They slowed the ship, letting the engines cool. Sparks flickered on the control panels and the hull creaked under the stress. Jacob checked the systems, making sure they would hold together. "We'll need repairs when we get out of here," he said. "I can handle some of it," Lyra replied. "The core gave me more than data. It gave me understanding. I can now interface with your technology at a deeper level. Your ship will be stronger after this." Jacob gave her a curious look. "You sound different." "More confident," Lyra nodded slowly. "When I connected to the core, I changed. I'm no longer just a construct. I think, I feel, and I understand choices. I am becoming something new, something free." Jacob smiled faintly. "Then you're learning the most human thing of all." "What is that?" she asked. "To change," he said simply. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the hum of the ship. The nebula's colors danced outside like a living ocean. After a while, Lyra spoke again. "The knowledge we retrieved cannot stay with me alone. Others will come for it. My creators once feared that power would destroy them, and they were right. We must decide what to do with it." Jacob leaned back, thinking. "We can't let the Guild or anyone else use it. If it really can rebuild or destroy worlds, we'll need to hide it somewhere it can't be found." Lyra looked at him. "Hide it? Where?" Jacob smiled slowly. "Somewhere they'll never look." "On Earth," Lyra blinked. "Earth, your homeworld?" "Exactly. It's old, messy, and full of people who argue about everything. No one would think to search there for God-level technology. And humans are stubborn. They protect what's theirs." Lyra thought for a moment, then nodded. "Perhaps that is fitting. My creators once tried to control everything. Humans, on the other hand, adapt. Maybe this knowledge belongs with those who understand the value of imperfection." Jacob grinned. Couldn't have said it better. They set course for the Sol system. The trip would take days through hyperspace, giving them time to repair the ship. Together they replaced damaged panels, recalibrated shields, and even fixed the old cargo bay where the cow had made a mess. Lyra worked efficiently, and Jacob was amazed at how quickly she learned. She even began humming softly while working, an odd habit she claimed she picked up from him. During one of their breaks, Jacob made 2 cups of instant coffee. He handed one to her out of habit, then stopped himself, realizing she might not even drink. But to his surprise, she took it and sipped. "You can drink?" he asked, amused. "I can now," she said with a small smile. "Taste is strange, but pleasant," Jacob laughed. "Welcome to humanity, Lyra." As they traveled closer to human space, strange transmissions began to appear on the comms. Some were guild ships searching for them. Others were from unknown factions, all talking about a light awakening in the void. The core's activation had indeed been noticed. The galaxy was stirring. When they finally reached Earth's orbit, Jacob looked at the blue planet below. He hadn't been home in years. Seeing it again made something tighten in his chest. "It's still beautiful," he said softly. Lyra gazed at the world, her silver eyes full of wonder. "So much life," she whispered. "No perfection, yet everything works together. I understand now why your kind matters so much in the galaxy." Jacob looked at her, puzzled. "What do you mean?" "Humans don't have the strongest bodies or the longest lives," Lyra said. "But you have hearts that refuse to give up. You see wrong and try to fix it. You connect with others, even strangers. That's what makes you powerful. That's what my creators forgot." Jacob smiled, a little embarrassed. "We're not all saints. But yeah, we try." They landed in a quiet area of the old North American continent, far from cities. Jacob had a hidden storage site there from his smuggling days, a deep underground bunker once used for research. Together they carried the core fragment, now condensed into a small crystal sphere, into the bunker's vault. Lyra placed the sphere on a pedestal and sealed it with layers of encryption and physical locks. "No one will find it without your permission," she said. Jacob nodded. "Good. Maybe someday humanity will be ready for it. But not yet." They stood there for a while, both silent. The weight of what they had done hung between them. The battles, the discoveries, the choices. Finally, Jacob turned to her. "So what now?" Lyra looked thoughtful. "I want to see more. To learn what it means to live, not just exist. If you will allow it, I would like to stay with you." Jacob chuckled. "You don't need my permission. You're free. Then I choose to stay," she said. He smiled. Then welcome to the crew, partner. Let's see what trouble we can find next. As they left the bunker, the setting sun painted the sky golden red. The cow grazed peacefully nearby, unaware of the galaxy-changing secret hidden just beneath its feet. Lyra turned her face toward the light, feeling warmth for the first time as something more than data. Jacob glanced at her and smiled. You know, Lyra. Sometimes saving the Lyra laughed softly, a human sound light and full of life. Above them, the stars began to shine, distant and endless, waiting for